Just for your information is that this Energy Cafe is the first we are doing, but this is part of our wider media engagement strategy, which I'm sure many of you are aware about. The only special thing today is that we'll be having our CEO, who is our main guest today, and is going to take all your questions. The idea is for us to be able to share the KenGen story and also get to listen to you and be able to respond to some questions that you may be having. And at this particular juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I am excited and happy to invite the Managing Director and CEO of KenGen, who is going to give us an overview of the company in this year. And then thereafter, we will have a chance to allow you to ask questions. So, MD, karibu.
Members of the Fourth Estate, good morning. Welcome to KenGen's inaugural Energy Café, and I thank you all for finding time to join us. It is my pleasure to meet you and host you, even if it is virtually this morning. This year has been uncertain and has knocked many people down, but I'm very grateful to see all of you well and safe. And my greatest wish would have been to host you physically and to meet you. But due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we choose this mode of holding this meeting. You all know how restricting this situation has been for all of us. I know we are all looking forward to some breather when this will be behind us. And after the pandemic, we will plan to meet up in a relaxed atmosphere and probably over some nyama choma. I will have a date with you then. And as KenGen, we are cognizant of the fact that communication, and in particular, quality media reporting, is among the key pillars of transformation in any organization and the country at large. I would like to first thank you for covering KenGen over the years. Together we have been able to weave Kenya's energy story, and today, much is about KenGen. Much is known about KenGen because of your consistent and objective coverage of the company and the entire energy sector. Thank you for that. I may not know all of you individually, but I know your bylines and your names because I regularly read the stories you write, and I also watch and listen to what you say about us in both electronic and digital space. Thank you for putting KenGen on both the national and international map. This is a forum that presents us with an opportunity to highlight to you developments that have taken place in our organization, present the company's future outlook, allow you to ask questions about our business and other emerging issues, and also network, even if we shall do that virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, having stated that, please allow me to introduce KenGen briefly for the benefit of those who may have not enough information about the company. KenGen is a state-owned corporation. It is 70% owned by government and 30% by private shareholders. The company is listed in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. It was established way back in 1954, and the company has over the years grown by leaps and bounds. As at close of the financial year ended, that is June 2019, the company had an asset base of over 400 billion shillings. KenGen is the leading electric energy producer in the East African region. Currently, our installed generation capacity is 1,803 megawatts, comprising of 818 hydro, 706 geothermal, 253 megawatts thermal, and 25.5 megawatts of wind. As some of you may know, we have 31 power plants spread across various geographical locations, namely the Western region, where we have Sondumiriu and Sangoro and Takwel, and we have one thermal power plant that we call Muhoroni. To the geothermal area, we have large power plants from Olkaria 1, Olkaria 2, Olkaria 4, and Olkaria 6. We have the wellhead projects and also Eburu. Going back to the eastern region, we have the Seven Forks, 5 power plants along Tana River Cascade, comprising Masinga, Kamburu, Gitaru, Kindaruma, and down the stream is Kiambere Power Plant. Then we have the Upper Tana. Those are smaller plants. We have 4 power plants, namely Mesco, Wanji, Sagana, and Tana. And then we have the Ngong here in Nairobi, the wind farm. Down at the coast, we have 2 thermal plants, all located in Mombasa. I am glad to say our performance in power generation has remained commendable. KenGen currently supplies 72% of the electricity consumed in Kenya, with over 80% of this coming from renewable sources. As we all know, energy is an enabler of development, and if properly harnessed, has the potential of taking our country to the next level in line with the government's Vision 2030 development blueprint and the Big Four agenda. I'll also take a bit of time to cover a bit about the energy sector, and I'll start with the new Energy Act. And I know most of you are aware we now have a new Energy Act, which was assented into law on 12th of March, 2019, and commenced on 28th of March, 2019. The act repealed the previous Energy Act, number 12 of 2006, and the Geothermal Resources Act, number 12 of 1982. And on 6th April 2019, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Energy, appointed a task force on the implementation of the Energy Act. The new act offers opportunities to energy sector players, which include open market access, enabling power generators to sell power directly to large consumers, the creation of hydrology fund to cushion generators from hydrology risk, and creation of an independent system operator, among other opportunities. But back to the Kenya's energy sector outlook. That said, let me share with you some numbers about the energy sector. And I'll start with data from the Economic Survey 2020, published by the Kenya Bureau of National Statistics. And it indicates that in 2019, total electricity generated, including some imports, expanded by 3.9% to 11,620 gigawatt hours. The total installed capacity increased from 2,000 711 megawatts in 2018 to 2,818 megawatts in 2019. And during the same period, that is 2018-2019, the addition of our All-Carrier 5 power plant to the national grid, courtesy of KenGen in 2019, expanded the country's geothermal capacity by 25% to make it 856 megawatts, catapulting Kenya to position number 7 globally among the largest geothermal energy producers. And out of the total geothermal generation capacity, like I have said, of 856 megawatts, KenGen contributes most of it at 706 megawatts. And then geothermal remained the major source of electricity in Kenya, accounting for 45% of total generation in the country, followed by the hydro generation. Members of the fourth estate, post-COVID-19, we are more than happy to report that energy demand is now growing steadily. It is worth noting that the recorded daily peak demand to date has risen to 1,944 megawatts compared to 1,804 megawatts attained in February 2020 before the pandemic set in. We know that demand for power will keep rising, and we are therefore confident about the implementation of projects in our pipeline, as well as our financial sustainability and growth as a company. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now cover briefly the financial results 2019, our financial growth and stability. On the recently released financial results for the year ended 30th June 2019, effective operation of our power plants and harnessing of resources saw an increase of units sales by 4% from 7,989 gigawatt hours in 2018 to 8,277 gigawatt hours in 2019. Our revenues went up by 1.5% from 45.3 billion Kenya shillings in 2018 to 46 billion Kenya shillings in 2019. Our profit after tax remained steady at 7.9 billion. Asset base grew from 379 billion shillings as at June 2018 to 401 billion shillings as at 30th June 2019. During the period under review, other income increased from 275 million to 619 million shillings compared to the previous years. This was mainly driven by consultancy services and insurance compensation, among other miscellaneous revenue sources. KenGen's performance has continued to demonstrate the company's economic sustainability despite the negative effects of COVID-19. As a business, we are alive to the current situation, and in order for us to remain sustainable, we will continue to carefully consider long-term regulatory, political, economic, technological, and societal drivers of change and their impact on our business. These are deliberate measures geared to ensure we can leverage on opportunities and handle emerging challenges with agility and resilience. But let me tell you about the projects in pipeline. And looking at the projects in our pipeline, it is important to mention that as an organization, we implement energy projects as guided by the least cost power, development plan. And this is a 20-year power generation, transmission, and distribution master plan. This plan, which is prepared under the leadership of the Ministry of Energy, evaluates power demand and supply over the medium term and long term, and thereafter develops a project pipeline. As mentioned earlier, the connection of Olkaria 5 geothermal power plant to the national grid in 2019 expanded the country's geothermal capacity by 25% to 856 megawatts. To this end, our focus in the next 12 months remains to deliver the Olkaria 1 Unit 6 geothermal power plant, which will bring online an additional 83.3 megawatts by the end of the year 2021. Members of the Fourth Estate, recently we shortlisted 4 firms for a public-private partnership project to implement Olkaria 6 plant, which is set to add 140 megawatts to the national grid. We also have the redevelopment of Olkaria 1. This is our oldest plant, which has done over 38 years, and this will seek to increase the plant's installed capacity from the current 45 megawatts to 50 megawatts. This is in the final stages of procurement, and this will also extend the life of this plant by another 25 years. At the same time, we have several projects under feasibility study, which include the following. We will redevelop Gogo Power Plant. This is a small plant in Migori County with a view to increasing the installed capacity from 2 megawatts to 10 megawatts. We also have plans to raise the height of Masinga Dam spillway by an additional 1.5 meters. And this will not only help store more water for generation, but further reduce flooding downstream by holding more water that could have gone downstream. We are also carrying out a feasibility study to determine potential for wind power in Marsabit County. We are planning to carry out also a feasibility study on the utilization of natural gas in order to increase baseload capacity and therefore supplement the geothermal energy and reduce the cost of power associated with generation using diesel. As you may have seen, we are in discussion with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services to evaluate the feasibility of installing a municipal waste to energy power plant. And the overall objective is to clean up our environment while generating power for national development. KenGen is also continuing with geothermal exploration program in Olkaria. And to date, we have done more than 330 wells. Those who have visited Olkaria previously have seen that for themselves. Our aim is to actualize these projects with a view to enhancing our energy portfolio to spur manufacturing, enhance food security and nutrition, universal health care coverage, and affordable housing across the country. As I have stated, our capacity addition programs remain aligned to the government's Big Four agenda and the Vision 2030 development blueprint. I will tell you now about our diversification strategy. The recent milestones we have been driven by our good to great strategy, which kicked off way back in 2007, and the program has been a vehicle through which majority of our projects have been delivered. By working with other organizations, as well as development partners, we have commenced and completed projects which now give us a total of 1,803 megawatts. And apart from leveraging on our specialization in energy generation, we are keen to continue implementing our revamped strategy, which remains critical in powering other sectors of the economy, such as health, agriculture, and also industrialization. Going forward, we will use our three-pronged business model to create more value in our operations. This will enhance our capacity expansion as well as diversification goals, which are geared towards strengthening our financial muscle and building a sustainable business. So the three approaches that we have, they include KenGen A. This is the traditional KenGen legal parent driving the generation business, whose growth continues to be financed on the balance sheet and mainly by development partners. Then we will have KenGen B, and this is the public-private partnership model with ring-fenced risks and cash flows that will fast-track our installed capacity expansion through joint ventures with local and international partners. But then we will have a KenGen C model, and this is a 100% owned subsidiary, which we call KenGen Energy Services Limited, that will drive our consultancy services, business across the region, and also undertake non-power generation businesses like drilling services. As part of our diversification strategy, we are focusing on an energy generation revenue sources, including consultancies, like I have said, operations and maintenance services, and also training, especially in geothermal. So this strategy has been instrumental in expanding our operations across Africa. Currently, we are undertaking 2 drilling contracts in Ethiopia, in which we are developing the Aluto Langano field and also Tulumoe geothermal fields. One contract is for drilling services that is valued at $56 million, while the other is for a consultancy services valued at $6.2 million. As we speak, our team is in Ethiopia implementing these contracts. We remain confident that the implementation of these contracts, we remain confident that the implementation will positively impact our business and improve our brand equity as we continue to create value for our stakeholders and also for the Africa region. Ladies and gentlemen, the story continues. I'll tell you a little bit about business sustainability, COVID-19, innovation, climate change, environment, corporate social responsibility, and community relations. And I'll do this quite briefly, and I'll start with innovation. We know that agility and resilience are the cornerstone of business sustainability. In order to remain agile and resilient, we recognize the innovative minds of our staff and give them the support and the empowerment they deserve to be creative. Our annual Global Innovation Seminar, augmented by other internal forums like communities of practice and innovation, give the staff the opportunity to innovate and pursue business improvement initiatives. A number of innovative programs and projects cutting across process improvements, manufacturing and service provision to other players in the energy sector are in various stages of implementation. It is through this commitment to innovation and the bold step to pursue new horizons that we have seen our company entering new markets in the region. What about climate change? As you're aware, the global threat of climate change requires the concerted efforts of all of us without exception. As part of the effort to mitigate against the impact of climate change, KenGen has embraced the Clean Development Mechanism, which we call the CDM. We are implementing 6 CDM projects, which have so far yielded $3.6 million for the organization since inception. The positive environmental and climate impact of these projects, based on the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Kyoto Protocol, has given us the impetus to continue implementing green projects that contribute to emission reduction. With these projects, which include Tana, Kiambere, those are the hydro ones, Ngong Wind, Olkaria 2, Olkaria 1 additional units 4 and 5, and Olkaria Geothermal Project 4, KenGen is playing a part in offsetting approximately 1.5 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent annually. And that's a good achievement. And to further support the climate action campaign, KenGen has joined the United Nations Global Compact. This membership catalyzes actions aimed at promoting good business practices by building capacities and awareness of ethics, integrity, and corporate social responsibility in promoting the UN Global Compact's 10 principles to achieve long-term growth by contributing to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Kenya. KenGen is participating in the United Nations Global Compact activities through 4 interagency working groups, which are providing a regular platform for collaboration and exchange of information, joint mobilization of resources, and the development and implementation of joint programs and projects. And KenGen is then focusing on 4 main areas. Number 1, through target gender equality programs, we are setting ambitious and realistic corporate targets for gender equality, demonstrating commitment and action to the employees, investors, and other stakeholders. Number 2, the Caring for Climate Working Group, and this drives the uptake of the business ambition for 1.5 degrees campaign by supporting us to act responsibly in our operations and supply chains. And number 3, the Young Innovators Program. And this is an opportunity for KenGen to identify young talent within the company to collaborate and accelerate business innovation towards the Sustainable Development Goals. And the last one, the Anti-Corruption Working Group, which supports the exchange of experiences and good practices around the anti-corruption efforts. And then on environmental sustainability, you'll remember that the late Professor Wangari Maathai said, it's the little things citizens do, that's what will make the difference. At KenGen, we do remain committed to achieving environmental sustainability. As provided in the Environmental Management and Coordination Act and the related regulations, we have continued to conduct comprehensive environmental impact assessments and audits for all our projects and also for all our existing facilities. In the last 5 years, KenGen has distributed to the communities around our installations a total of 1.5 million tree seedlings, which is equivalent to 2,358 acres of land to enhance the sustainability of their ecosystems. Augmenting the UN Sustainable Goal number 15, which is life on land, we are cognizant that operating in national parks and forest reserves comes with extra responsibility. These sites are habitats for various animals, and the need for conservation and restoration is actually key during construction and operations of power plants. And some of these measures we have undertaken include use of noise silencers at our Olkaria power plants, color-coded steam pipelines on the animal corridor, and complying to environmental requirements and obtaining environmental and social impact assessment licenses for all capital projects. We have also established environmental management programs in all our operational areas with a view to protecting the environment and minimizing our carbon footprint. As you have heard, environment is a big thing for us. And on social investments, we are a responsible corporate citizen, and we have made considerable contribution to communities through our corporate social investment program. In the process, we have transformed lives. One of the vehicles the company is using is the Kenjin Foundation, which was formed in the year 2009 to upscale our CSI program. The foundation focuses on 3 main strategic pillars, that is education, environment, and water and sanitation. The projects also touch on environmental conservation, infrastructure development, and scholarships for students, among others. And I'll just give you quickly some of the highlights of the programs we have initiated under the foundation. One is the education program, 2005 to 2020. Under this program, more than 712 million shillings has been disbursed to various learning institutions. We have 10,500 students who have benefited from scholarships and infrastructure development initiated under the KenGen Foundation. And also 1,066 students have been taken through life transformational trainings and mentorship. KenGen has also employed 16 first-class honors graduates who are currently working in various stations across the company. On environment, since 2013, like I have said, we have distributed quite a number of seedlings for planting. On water and sanitation, more than 66,000 liters water tanks have been donated in the arid and semi-arid areas, with more than 20 million shillings donated towards provision of water in various households. The last one I want to highlight under that topic is the Naivasha Level 5 Hospital. This is the biggest of all the CSR activities that the company has been involved in. And this is Naivasha Level 5 Hospital, which we are co-financing with the county government of Nakuru. KenGen's contribution to the project is about 300 million shillings. The hospital, located in Naivasha town, covers the KenGen's geothermal hub, and it is said to benefit the residents of the entire Nakuru County, as well as the neighboring county. The project is currently under construction, progressing well and on schedule, expected to be completed by June 2021. It will be a state-of-the-art outpatient facility, and the hospital will have a capacity to serve an estimated 600 patients in a day. So let us now move to community relations. And like I have said, the company, being a participant of the United Nations Global Compact Network Kenya, we support the 10 principles covering human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption, and we do report on progress of our performance. KenGen is cognizant of the fact that all developments are people-centered and that communities residing in areas where we operate in are our key partners. As project developers, we are alive to the need to obtain the social license to operate from the communities prior to and during project implementation. Towards this end, the company has developed and implemented a community engagement strategy for a value-based win-win community relations. This strategy was launched in 2018, and some of you witnessed the launch. And KenGen's approach is to have a constant and continuous way of involving communities, and has worked in ways that leave the communities engaged and self-sustaining in their livelihoods. Under this framework, we have what we call stakeholder coordination committees in our areas, made up of members of the local community and other opinion leaders who we work with in developing and implementing the CSR programs, as well as address issues of mutual concern. And this has helped to strengthen and enhance our relationship with the host communities. I'm sure many of you are wondering how we are coping with COVID-19 pandemic. And as you all know, KenGen, like other organizations, has been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. Indeed, projections indicate that the medium-term macroeconomic environment will be tough. It is also worth noting that KenGen is one of the players in the sector that has demonstrated resilience and stability despite the impact of the crisis. As a response to the pandemic, And in recognition of the fact that electricity is classified as an essential service, KenGen has put in place measures to ensure seamless and reliable supply. We have instituted a shift system for our staff as one of the ways of ensuring we observe prevention measures, especially social distancing, thereby guaranteeing an uninterrupted power supply to the nation, and particularly to support the healthcare facilities while keeping our employees safe. At this juncture, I would like to thank my strong and reliable team that has worked tirelessly to support and stand with the country during this difficult time. We have also spent 40 million shillings corporate social responsibility activities, both nationally and in our operational areas, to support the war against COVID-19. In addition, and a very special point, our employees from their own salaries, not from the company funds, have contributed 10 million shillings to boost the COVID-19 activities, especially in the areas of our operations. As we progress about gender mainstreaming in KenGen, this is one of our focus areas that we place great emphasis on. Today, the company has made very great strides in women inclusion. In our operations and geothermal division, for instance, more than 10% of employees are women, while in the legal affairs division, 22 out of 39 employees are female. Also in the business development division, more than 35% of the engineers and project development officers are women. Cognizant of our field of operation, we have been keen in creating an environment where female employees can also thrive. One of the platforms is the well-known Pink Energy Initiative, which has played a major role in developing, encouraging, and facilitating female employees to grow to their full potential. Our female employees have, as a result, been able to succeed in their various fields. And we have quite a lot of activities we can share with you in terms of gender mainstreaming. And since the inception of Pink Energy, confidence levels among our female employees has remarkably increased, and a research conducted by KPMG has confirmed this. In terms of partnerships, KenGen recognizes the power and value of partnerships. And over the years, the company has worked with various development partners, commercial banks, and other stakeholders, without whose support the company would not be where it is today in terms of growth, financial performance, technical capacity, just to name a few areas. And some of these partners include the World Bank, AFD, JICA, KFW, EIB, and AFDB, and as well as other local and international banks. The list of partners would not be incomplete if we go without mentioning the National Treasury, our largest shareholder, with 70% shareholding of the company. And as I said earlier, the Public Investment Commission of South Africa, our second largest shareholder, and all other valued shareholders, both institutional, individual, who are here locally and even internationally. Our parent ministry, Ministry of Energy, has been supportive in our initiatives, and they have a special place in our company. We have enjoyed good working relationships with the energy regulator, IPRA, and all the sector players, Kenya Power, KETRACO, GDC, REREC, and NUPEA as well. Our focus going forward will be on service delivery, diversification, and sustainable development to continue providing Kenyans with safe, reliable, competitively priced electric energy as we create value for all our shareholders. And in conclusion to this elaborate information for you, it is my hope that what we have shared today gives you all a deeper insight into the state of KenGen as the country's leading energy producer. We hope that as individuals charged with the responsibility of reporting about the country's energy sector, you are more informed and will also enrich your reporting with the information we have shared today. As a company, we regard you as a key development partner and a major stakeholder. By telling our story, you will not only help us to build our brand, but also open new horizons as different stakeholders become aware of our capacities and services in this country, and even beyond. We remain available for any information that you require in your reporting. And I take this time to thank you very much. Thank you all for your time and for joining us today and listening to that long speech. And may God bless you and keep you safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MD and CEO, for that elaborate presentation. I believe that our friends in the fourth estate and those we invited from the blogs will be able to get enough material to carry them all through the year. Like I said earlier, we are giving you a chance to ask the questions from what the CEO has presented. We are giving you a chance to ask the questions, to respond to any concerns that you may be having, so that we can be able to address them at this particular point. And just to give you an overview of what KenGen is, the CEO clearly said that we are the largest energy producer in the whole of East Africa. Of course, our capacity currently is at 1,803. Our most proudest source is the geothermal capacity, which currently stands at about 706. For the longest time in Kenya, we've always depended on hydro, which is at now in KenGen, we have about 818 megawatts. Like the CEO said clearly, we have wind also about 26 megawatts. And you remember she mentioned also some thermal, about 253 megawatts. So like I said, our main business in Kenya is to produce energy and then sell that energy in bulk to the off-taker, who then has the responsibility of selling that particular power to both domestic and the commercial customers, who are people like you and me. KenGen is now moving on into also revenue diversification, where we are looking forward, like the CEO said, to bring in additional revenue as we remain relevant to the ongoing operating environment. Without much ado, I would want to repeat the guidelines that I had mentioned up there. I've seen now we are currently about 40 people in this meeting. We started about 20, so which means we have some new faces. We had said we want to see everybody on video. You are only supposed to mute your microphones, but please put your videos on so that we can try and have faces to the names. This is the only time we are meeting this year until probably next year. At the same time, when you'll be called upon to ask your questions, we are requesting that you raise your hand using the raise hand tool. But at the same time, you also put your video on at that particular time, and we will be able to ask you to put in your questions. You can also put in compliments. We welcome those at this particular time too. And then those who are anywhere near noises, particularly those working from home, please, you're advised to stay away from noisy areas so that we can be able to hear you clearly. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I invite the media to start raising those hands. There are those who had side chatted me and they already have their names. MD, when you're ready, I will be able to put in the questions over to you. Members of the fourth estate, I am not seeing any hands. First, to open for us the floor will be Mir Takar. Please welcome on board. Just introduce yourself and then put across your question.
Good morning. My name is Mir Thakkar. I'm an independent analyst and I cover KenGen in depth, especially because of my personal interest in the corporation. So basically, I will limit my questions to the COVID-19 pandemic effects. And my question is, to begin with, what's the effect on the company's profit before tax from the depreciation of the Kenya shilling against various international currencies? For example, in financial year 18, the shilling depreciated 2.6% against the dollar, according to your annual report. So that brought us a hit of about over 440 million. And in financial year 19, the yen, the yen took a hit against the Kenya shilling, and the Kenya shilling appreciated by 3.5% against the yen. And you actually booked a gain of almost 600 million. So in line with the past reports, it definitely appears that the depreciation of the Kenya shilling is significant this year. And what effects will that have on financial year 20 results? And secondly, sorry for this extended skew, what type of provisions are we looking at on KPLC debt? And isn't it remarkable that you would have to actually provision at all, considering that the Energy Act may allow you to go to National Treasury for any pending dues, and also that KPLC is bound by power purchase agreements on the basis of which other lenders have actually extended funds to your esteemed corporation. And finally, this is my last question, sorry. Yeah, what effects can we expect from the scrapping of compensating tax, any other reliefs, including reliefs that will be implemented in financial year 21 that may impact onboarding of Olkaria 1 Unit 6, and also the addition of VAT on the components that you import for your power plants. Thank you so much. And thank you for your excellent leadership, Madam Rebecca, and your team as well. And Zedi, thank you for inviting me to this excellent seminar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thakkar. I think I'll be seeing you later on somewhere else. Please remember to use our hashtag today to carry on this discussion forward. I have received other questions. I have George Obolutsa, who is on standby, but before George, I've seen a number of questions from a Nation Media House. I will request that we limit our questions to maximum of 3 so that we can be able to effectively address all of them. So now I will welcome in, do I see him on? Edwin Okoth? Yes.
All right, thank you very much. I had sent some questions on text. I thought you would just voice them for me, but I don't know whether you still want me to ask the same questions I've sent you.
Please do.
All right. So my first question was on the COVID-19 effects. We know that Kenya Power invoked a force majeure between March and I think September. I wanted to know what revenues or impact in terms of income that KenGen had felt from that force majeure. My other question was on the least cost power plan. I've had several projects in pipeline based on the least cost power plan. And I wanted to hear from the MD because we've had challenges with this plan before when demand has failed to be in line with what was projected. So whether you are planning to change your pipeline projects plans based on what this new reality of lower demand than what was projected. And finally, there was an earlier hint of KenGen supplying directly to customers because having one of taker in the country was a risk to the business. There was that hint in 2018. I don't know whether you can update us on whether that plan is still in place or what became of it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Edwin. I think I have one more question from George Obolutsa, and he says he wasn't able to see the raise hand tool. When you click the participants button, it will bring the participants to the right. And at the center of it, if you don't have any chats, you will see raise hand at the center of between the chats and the participants. Or it could also be at the bottom of your screen, right bottom. So just click on participants and go to raise hands at the bottom of the participants. George, if you can see that, we will do that. If you cannot, I will then read your question. Are we okay, George?
I've
Yes.
unmuted.
I see you're on. Please go ahead.
No, for me, the question was, what is the latest with regard to KenGen seeking an advisor for the sale of carbon credits? Then also, what more details could you share about the plans for the waste to power project with the NMS?
Right, I think that was very clear. I see a question from Bella G, and I would request again, as you ask your question, please introduce yourself and which media you're coming from so that we can know the full name of G. Bella, over to you. Please unmute yourself.
Sorry.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry, it's Bella Genga from Bloomberg News. I just wanted to know what's the total debt portfolio of KenGen currently. I've put the questions on chat. Is KenGen making repayments of commercial debts, and what's the monthly payment? And if able to tell us what's the monthly repayment for the concessional loans, and has government taken up the repayment? If so, when? And when will KenGen resume making payments? So there are questions on carbon trading, if you'll allow me. What's the anticipated timeline for this carbon market? And how much is KenGen investing in renewable projects? And what's the expected impact, or how will they see this playing out? Thank you.
Thank you, Bella. That was very helpful. If you can all just put your questions on the chat so that everybody will be able to see them for reference points. Any other questions? I cannot see any hands. We can take one more, then we go and respond. Then we'll come back for one more round, then we will close. Do you have any other questions? All right, I see a question from Victoria Amadala. Please come on and introduce yourself, then you can go ahead to your question. Victoria? Oh, it's Victor, sorry. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, Victor Madala from the Star newspaper. My question is about regards to the debt Kenya Power owes you guys. Considering that the power distributor is technically insolvent, are you in any talks on how you can restructure the debt? Thanks.
Thank you, Victor. Sorry for nicknaming you another name. All right, any other questions? So now you can put them on the chat and then we'll come back to them later on. MD, if you are ready, we can come back to you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for participating and for asking those questions. Indeed, it looks like all roads today led to KenGen. And thank you, Mir Thakkar, for your first set of questions. And I'll briefly respond. And looking at Forex and the financial and the Forex impact, as you know, we have power purchase agreements for our various plants that we use to sell power to the off-taker, that is Kenya Power. Under the power purchase agreements, we have a pass-through provision for the Forex fluctuation. So when, especially the currencies that we mostly use, that is the dollar and the yen and also the euro. Whenever there is any fluctuation, that is factored in through the power purchase agreement and therefore leaves KenGen neutral to the base rate that was set at the signing of the PPAs. In terms of the Kenya Power debt, and I think two more people have asked about the Kenya Power debt. Yes, it is true that we have Kenya Power owes KenGen quite a bit of money, but this is an issue that is under discussion. And for those of you who attended our AGM, the Permanent Secretary Ministry of Energy did confirm to the shareholders that there are various activities that are going on and intervention measures towards resolving this debt. And between KenGen and Kenya Power, we have come up with a payment plan that is already working well. And we are positive that within the payment plan and in due course, whatever is overdue will soon be paid. And we are in continuous consultation with Kenya Power and the Ministry of Energy to put in place measures that will ensure that our receivables continue to flow in so that we can also continue undertaking our activities. On the effects of the compensating tax, yes, there was a change last year. First, the compensating tax had been exempted for the publicly generating companies, but then was changed under the law and that was brought back. So Thakkar, what that means is that the dividend you pay, you have to take into account the amount for compensating tax. And the dividend we paid recently, in total, the kitty then has to include compensating tax so that then it's still affordable. And I will come back a little later on the effects of the VAT and the other provisions, especially the impact on All-Carrier 1, Unit 6. Edwin Okoth You talked about the the effects of COVID-19 and our discussions on the force majeure. And it is true that after the first COVID-19 case was announced in Kenya, demand for electricity dropped owing to containment measures that were put in place to curb the spread. And this therefore affected the demand for energy. And actually the system peak demand at that time went down. And it is important to state that the impact on demand for electricity was more pronounced, especially in the months of April, May, and June. Those 3 months were where the impact was fully felt. We are currently concluding discussions with Kenya Power regarding how much idle capacity was affected during the 3 months, and therefore the financial impact of that idle capacity. And then we will conclude our discussions, and the discussions are going well. But it is important now to note that this has normalized and the demand has gone higher than even the pre-COVID February figures. In regard to the least cost power development plan, like I said in my address, this is the plan, the sector plan that plans all the power projects, whether it is generation, transmission, or distribution. And our project pipeline is aligned to that least cost power development plan and also the government's agenda. In addition, the least cost power development plan takes cognizance of the Vision 2030 programs and also working on the future demand. We are aligned to all these policies, but I would also like to say that power projects take a long time. A project pipeline takes probably 36 months or even to 5 years. So the projects we are working on now will bring power on stream a little later, but we are closely monitoring the demand for power and the growth, and we are cautiously optimistic that the economy will recover and therefore the demand for power will resume in earnest. And it is wise not to reduce everything so that in future you don't get into a situation again where you do not have adequate power. So in summary, we monitor this very closely, and power projects take a long time. So we will be able to get a balance as we move forward. The other issue you raised was in regard to supplying power direct to customers, especially large consumers. I want to confirm that the Energy Act 2019 has provisions for that possibility. What is pending are the regulations of how that will be undertaken and how the infrastructure will then be based, the wheeling charges for using the transmission lines. But we are certain that when the regulations are ready and proper guidelines are issued, that possibility will in future be there. In regard to the advisor on carbon credits, this is by John Obulusa, I think. We have currently signed a contract with an advisor, and like I said, 6 of our projects have been registered under the CDM, and so that is going well. I'd also like to add that a portion of the money we get from the CDM strictly goes to the community to fund a project of their choice, may it be in education, in water and sanitation, or environment. Then in regard to waste to energy, you asked me a general question, what more I would say. George, I would like to say that we are at the request for proposal stage, and the RFPs will close later in the year. And these are for a consultancy to update the feasibility study. We had feasibility studies that were undertaken in the year 2012, but we need an update. After we update the feasibility study, then we shall go back and advertise for a contractor to undertake that. So the next question from Bella had also something to do with the CDM and then debt portfolio. In regard to the CDM, we have already received disbursements amounting to about $2 million US, and 10% of the disbursements have been utilized to implement social projects among communities living within the project areas. And so far, the 6 registered projects have reduced emissions, and they have the potential to reduce emissions of about 1.5 million tons of CO2 annually. And of course, I have said we are now engaging advisory services on the sale of the CERs arising from the wind and geothermal and some of the hydro projects. We have identified a consultant. In terms of our debt portfolio, we know that energy projects are quite capital intensive, which then necessitates the uptake of debt to finance the same. And our sector is structured in a way that guarantees us to recoup our investments through the capacity revenues. And therefore, because a debt is taken for a certain project, the sale of power from that project is used to repay the debt. And most of the company's debt being linked to the projects and the cash flows are therefore secured using the PPAs. And indeed, the debt is also de-risked through government guarantees, and therefore it is affordable, as illustrated by our low weighted average cost of debt at 2.4%, and the long tenure of 17 years. It is worth noting that KenGen has also reduced the amount of debt that is guaranteed by government, because we have repaid quite a lot of that. We are continuing to service our loans. Government has given us a moratorium for one of the loans for a period of 1 year, just to manage the effects of COVID-19 and the repayment plan that we are working with Kenya Power. Frank, is there a question I did not respond to?
You've addressed a number of them, I think all of them, but we've seen others that have come in. I think 2 more after you had spoken. But on the ones that we got from Bella, from Victor, and also from Edwin and Mirthakar, I think those are addressed sufficiently, unless they would want to make follow-ups. But I will now go on to Ryan. And I think your question is slightly related to what we had talked about in the least cost, but in the interest of knowing your face, please, Ryan, please come on live and take in your question. Ryan, are you online? All right, we'll skip that and go to Rosemary Kinyanjui. Your question is closely linked to what the CEO talked about, but I see it's about the payment plan with the off-taker. Rosemary? Rosemary, are you able to unmute your mic? All right. So MD, I'll take that question. I'll read it out for you. Rosemary Kinanji from Metropole TV is asking, are you able to disclose how much the off-taker is paying under the payment plan, as well as how long it will take to clear this debt? I think at the same time, Bella is putting in a follow-up question on the debt, and you wanted to, Mrs. Miano has said that the company is still servicing loans and the government has given a one-year moratorium on one of the loans. What is the loan amount, and are you able to share more details on the loan? I think those ones will be able to now or later, but I'll go back to the MD and CEO to check up Rosemary's question. MD?
Thank you, Madam Rosemary Kinyanjui. I don't have the finer details about the payment plan we have with Kenya Power, but one of the things that we have agreed is that going forward, they'll be able to pay the invoices for every month going forward so that the old debt does not increase, and also in every month, pay some of the older debts. But maybe later you can follow up that, we can follow up that. But I'd also want to go back to something Thaka had asked about the performance for 2020. We are not able to discuss much because of the restrictions by CMA that you cannot discuss the results before you publish. So you will bear a bit with us for the final details for the performance for the period ended June 2020. And you know that we got an extension up to 15th of December within which to publish. And the main reason for that was the delayed appointment of the Auditor General and then the auditors that they appointed to do the audit. So in regard to the loan that we got some moratorium, it's only one loan. I don't have the actual amounts right now, but it's only for a period of 1 year. It's not a very big loan, but we could follow up on that, or if the finance director could unmute and see what you have to add towards that, together with the question on the effects on VAT and also the taxes for all career 1 and 6, and so that we can also hear your voice.
So we'll invite Finance Director. Please unmute your microphone. And also, as you come online, you can take the question of Victor Madala. He's asking about details on the plan with Kenya Power. I want to believe the CEO has addressed that, but John, you could speak on that also.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much, CEO, and all the members of the third estate for coming in large numbers. I would just say the government did give us a moratorium for repayment of Exim loan, and that's around $2.3 million. it was due in March during the heart of COVID-19. And so that's the only loan that we did not pay. The second question on VAT for Carrier 1, we did receive exemption for both All Carrier 5 and All Carrier 1 Unit 6 on VAT. So there'll be no VAT. It's exempted as part of promotion of the energy sector. And I think what you have in mind with other taxes, particularly All Carrier 5, one which we commissioned in November last year, we expect to get investment allowance of around 23 billion, which is really based on the costing. Of course, we know in subsequent years we'll only recover 50% as per the new Finance Act 2020. In terms of repayment plan with Kenya Power, I must say that we've been the plan is dynamic. We discuss every month based on their cash flows, and I'm very happy to report that last month they were able to pay us the full bill for 1 month, which was 4.3 billion. And this month again, we have discussed they are going to pay us just about 4 billion. So it's discussed continuously, and its engagement. The engagement is done at very, very high level with the management of Kenya Power, and definitely they have been very cooperative, and we work together on this as part of the support of the sector. Thank you. Over to you, MD.
Thank you, John. I think we have responded to the questions we have received. So back to you, Frank.
Thank you very much, MD and the CEO, and also our Finance Director, John Mudan, for checking all those questions. I want to give one more round if we have other questions as we come to the tail end of this Energy Café convened by the KenGen PLC. The members of the fourth estate, do we have any other questions from your end? All right. I can see that means that
I have a question.
Abi Agina, Karibu.
Thank you. My question, first and foremost, thank you for putting this together. It's a very timely forum. My question is in regard to the Energy Act that MD had talked about earlier. I'm curious to find out more about the hydrology fund and the implications it will have for power generators like KenGen, and what amounts are we looking at in terms of building up this fund?
All right, we got that on the hydrology fund. I think it was announced some time back. Any other question from the fourth estate? This is the last round we are checking, then we will close. And I can inform you that you're going to send you a link of this video so that you'll be able to pick up these messages going forward. We would want to see more objective reporting on KenGen stories and also at large the energy sector. If we have any questions, I will take them now. And therefore, I will take the silence to mean that we've captured all your topics. So I'm looking forward to very many stories tomorrow and all through next year. Over to you, MD, to pick up that last question from Abi Agina.
Thank you very much, Abi Agina. Good to see you also. In regard to the new energy, the Energy Act 2019, as we are calling it, it provides for an opportunity for the creation of hydrology fund. As you're aware, during times of poor hydrology, especially extreme hydrology, some of the times we experienced such, I think was in 2009, and again, the beginning of 2019, where hydro generation had actually gone to the minimal, which means that any obligation in regard to the hydro stations is then left at risk. What the fund will then do is to cushion generators from that hydrology risk to ensure that the obligations that are attached to the hydro stations then continue. At the moment, the regulations have not been put in place. The amounts have not been determined, but we are waiting and also participating in the formation of the regulations and the final working details of the fund. Right now, it's just an omnibus provision, but the final details will be worked on, chaired by the Ministry of Energy and also IPRA. So going forward, we will be able to share progress on that and then get final details. Thanks again for all those questions.
Thank you very much, MD. And I think at this juncture, I will now ask you, MD and CEO, to introduce the members of your executive committee who are present with us here today, so that the members of the fourth estate can get to put faces to their names. Over to you, MD.
Thank you. I see Finance and ICT Director John Mudani, who has just spoken. You can switch on your camera. We also have Mary Malu, who is the Corporate and Regulatory Services Director, who is also in charge of communication, is also with us. I don't know whether we have David, Strategy and Innovation. David, you can put on your camera for our distinguished guests to meet you.
There I am. Good morning.
And I think we also have Elizabeth, Business Development Director. Is Elizabeth in the house? Yes, Elizabeth is there. She has put a camera. She's the director in charge of the projects I talked about. We should also be having Geothermal Development Director, Engineer Abel Rotich. If you're in the house, you could switch on your camera.
I think
we have the next four comprising 9 people, 9 directors, and that's the team I'm privileged to lead, and that's the team that is taking KenGen places. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MD and CEO Rebecca Miano, for your elaborate presentation today. I'll now ask all of us to mute our microphones as we come to the close of the event. Asanteni. Thank you, members of the fourth estate, for having made it here to be with us today. We've had a record of 40 of you or so who are able to participate in this online Energy Café with KenGen PLC. Like I promised, we'll be sharing the video with you, and also we'll work on sending some more material over to you to help you put your stories together going forward, so that you can expect more objective reporting from your end about our stories to help us shape this energy story. Coming out of the COVID-19 situation, like the CEO has mentioned, we have recorded one of the highest ever demands in the energy. Today, we can say we have about 1,944 megawatts, which is one of the highest ever demand recorded in history. This is going to show that the demand for energy is on the rise. And as KenGen, we are going to put our best foot forward to ensure that Kenya is sufficiently served with affordable and reliable energy. I therefore thank all of you for making it here today. And we endeavor to make these forums an ongoing thing, at least biannually or annually going forward. But this also will be in line with the other engagements which we have with you and the other media in the regions. At this point, I will once again invite Judy Ogutu to lead us in a word of prayer as we close the day.
Frank, there's a question I'm seeing here from Victor Amadala about nuclear energy.
Oh, I hadn't seen that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Victor Amadala, you want to take the stage for the last time? We see your face as you vocalize your question.
Thank you. Maybe I had a simple one about the feel on nuclear energy, because KenGen has really been championing renewable energy in this country, especially on the dam. What are your plans on the nuclear energy?
All right. I think that's captured in the energy bill, but I'll give it over to the CEO to respond to that. Just before the CEO comes on, do we have any other questions so that I don't lock out anybody else?
As we are all aware, we have an organization called NUPEA, the one that is mandated to look at the possibility of nuclear energy in a bid to diversifying sources of energy into the future, because diversification is also welcome to supplement the other sources of energy, geothermal, hydro, and other renewable sources. We do know that NUPEA is now doing a lot of upstream work, a lot of feasibility to establish how nuclear energy can then be developed in this country, but they're still at the formative stage of research and feasibility. And if it becomes a reality, it's probably in the next 15 years. So it's a space to watch, and at the right time, if need be, KenGen will then see what role we can play in that field if it becomes feasible and if it becomes viable. So Victor, let's watch that space with you and follow keenly, and we see it to its logical conclusion, and I hope God will keep us safe till then to see the development of the nuclear energy. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you very much, MD and CEO, for that. I am happy. Somebody is speaking again? There's a question. All right. Just to inform me that we are continuing this discussion online, KenGen Energy Café. Please join us there and let's continue interacting. Judy Ogutu.
Okay, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this event. We thank you the way it has gone. It has been successful. We don't take it for granted. As each and every one of us separates and goes our own way, I pray that you may be with us for the rest of the day and let this be a fruitful day. We pray this prayer, trusting and believing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. Please give us your email addresses.
I
and
hope
also
next time we will have more time, maybe half a day or a full day, because the energy story is very exciting to talk about, and I'm also on your side, all the fourth estate participants today. It's an exciting story to listen to and to understand. But let's continue, and may God bless you and keep you safe till we meet again. Thank you.
Thank you, MD. I hope next time we'll make it a physical meeting so that we can get to see each other one-on-one. Remember to send us your email addresses and your telephone numbers so that we can reach out to you after this with the link of the video and other things. Asanteni.